cannot thank you enough for being here. Because in the days ahead, this family is really going to need you. They're going to need your calls, your cards, your visits, but most of all, they're going to need your prayers. The honor guard has come before you today to celebrate and honor the life of Captain David Morgan, a decorated veteran of the United States Army, and to render military honor for his service and dedication to our country. We were not privileged to know Captain Moyer personally. However, when we see the flag of our nation here, this tells us much about this man. But here was a man who loved liberty, justice, and freedom. When his country needed him, he answered the call. He went where he was asked to go. He did what he was asked to do without any assurance whatsoever that he would ever return to family, friends, job, or the life that he had known before. Well, Mr. Moyer, a great debt of gratitude for his love, service, and dedication to our country. Well, truly, he was a man who loved freedom. And you know, we hear a lot of talk about freedom in our country today, folks. But I must remind everyone gathered here today that freedom is not free. It has been bought and paid for with a horrible price, with the lives, blood, and wounds of some of America's finest. Since the birth of our nation, over 1,220,000 of our finest have given their lives so that you and I may enjoy the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we have in the country today. In addition to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom, another 1,530,000 plus have been wounded and or will carry their scars to the grave. Freedom is not free, folks, and I pray that we never take it for granted, as we all sometimes do. For we live in the greatest nation on the face of the planet, not perfect by any means. Our country has many problems, but thanks to the service and dedication of the men and women like Captain Moyer, we're free. We're free to gather here today and pay our respects. We're free to work. We're free to play. And number one, we're free to worship God in any manner we see fit without fear. And these are all rightful privileges that have been maintained for us by the 40 million men and women who have put on the uniform of the armed forces of the United States. In a moment, you will hear the highest honors the military can provide to a fallen veteran, that of the rifle salute. It is a time-honored tradition that comes to us from before the days of Jesus to the times of the early Greek and Roman empires. When one of their soldiers would fall, three of his comrades would go by the open grave, scoop up a handful of dirt, cast it in, and call out that man's name loudly 3 times to say farewell. Today it comes to us in the form of a rifle salute. There will be 3 volleys, and I caution you, the first will be extremely loud, so don't be startled. And then in the distance, we will hear taps. Taps is played at the end of the day on every United States military installation in the world. And what it tells our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines is that today's work is done. It's time to rest. We feel that it's only fitting we hear it here today, where Captain Moyer's work here is done. It's time for him to take his eternal rest. And if I could speak to Captain Moyer today, I would say, beloved, you finished the course. Your battles have all been fought. And as we lay your body to rest in peace, may your life and your good deeds be remembered always. Today, we honor you. May we pray. We thank you, Almighty God, our Father, for the privilege of assembling here today and paying our respects to Captain David Morgan. My Father, I lift this family up to you for your favor and your blessing. Lord, just bless this family in all ways. Be with them and help them. Lead, guide, and direct them through this difficult time in their life. I also ask, Lord, you bless our service members, no matter where they may be stationed, or even now guard the gates of freedom, so that we may enjoy the rights and privileges we have in our country today. My Father, go with this family. Comfort them, strengthen them, help them, bless them, be with them, show them your tender mercies in all ways. And I ask that you place a hedge of protection around each and every one gathered here today, Lord, not only in their travels, but in their lives. We thank you so much, our Father, for life, for love, for liberty, and for the life of David Morgan. Bless this family, Lord, in their time of sorrow and loss. For it's in the precious, holy, and wonderful name of our God Jehovah that we believe and shine on, and we hope that he shines his favor on us. For it's in the precious name. on behalf of the Volunteer State Veterans Honor Guard, it has been a privilege and an honor to serve your family here today. You have our deepest sympathies and condolences. Thank you. May God bless.
Gather here this afternoon to remember David and join our hearts together to give comfort and strength to his family. Mourning is a time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We continue our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking David's life with the millennia-old tradition of people Israel and the eternity of God. As in the world around us, so too in human life, darkness is followed by light and sorrow by consolation. Life and death are twins, grief and hope walk hand in hand. Although we cannot know what lies beyond the body's death, we put our trust in the undying spirit that calls us into life and abides to all eternity. May all who mourn take heart as they remember the goodness they have given and received. And when the days of their mourning are ended, may the memory of their loved one come to be a benediction. Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. Blessed be the Eternal, the source of life. And now continue with the recitation of Psalm 23 in Hebrew, and we will join together in the English. Following.
Adonai Ruhi lo hexam, inoti she'ar bitseni, al memenuchot shenachaleni, nafshi shovet, yanchini b'magen tzedek, lemon shemo. Kam kielech beketz al mavet, lo yerara ki atay madi, shivtecha mishantecha, ima yenachamuni, taroch b'panai, shulchan neged zorerai, tishanta, Hashem en roshi,
In our handouts, you'll see the translation of Psalm 23 as I invite you to read these words together with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It has now come in the time in our service where we will eulogize David. I'd like to invite up Bill to share a few words.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the family, I want to thank each of you for being here to celebrate the life of David. It's been my privilege to know him for over 75 years. We met when we were 4 to 5 years old, and with the possible exception of Larry Winston, I've probably known him longer than anyone else. The Moyers lived next door to my uncle on Paramount Boulevard. Saul and Dorothy were warm and gracious people to everyone that entered their house. I have fond memories of the times we spent together in grammar school, high school, college, and then in our professional pursuits in Memphis. We rode back and forth together to school on holidays and cherished our friendship. We both then served in the Air Force, and that would begin our professional practices. One time when we were coming back from Memphis, we stopped at a truck stop and we were going to eat. And so I said, "Do you have chili dog?" They said, "No." I said, "Do you have hot dog?" "Yes." "Do you have chili?" "Yes." David and I looked at each other. I don't get it. No matter what, our friendship was such that we could pick up wherever we left off. We shared mutual respect, admiration, and affection. David and the Moyer family had some difficult times. The untimely death of Saul, Dorothy with her struggle with breast cancer, Frank with the struggle with kidney disease, and of course, no one can forget Sasha's tragic experience in the plane crash that took the life of Douglas and his friends. Nonetheless, David was always cheerful and loved to laugh. He bravely faced his treatments, which were very, very difficult with his cancer, even though he didn't survive. He cherished his friends, loved his work and his patience, and was proud of what he did. He dearly loved Jimena and Sasha. And Sasha's name, whether you knew it or not, means defender and helper of mankind, so he left quite a legacy for her. He will be missed. And now I'd like to read a poem which I read at my funeral, and it's directed to Sasha and Jimena. If I should ever leave you whom I love, you go along the silent way. Grieve not, nor speak to me with tears, but laugh, talk, and be as if I were beside you there. I'd come, could I would find a way. So would not tears and grief be barriers? When you hear a song or see a bird I love, please do not the thought of me be sad. For I am loving you just as I always have. You were so good to me. There are so many things I still wanted to do, so many things I wanted to say to you, but remember that I did not fear. It was just leaving you that was hard to face. We cannot see God, but this I know, I love you so. Was heaven here with you? Thank you.
First of all, I thank you all for being here to support my mom and I, and of course my dad. As the American poet Langston Hughes once said, living is for the living, death is for the dead. Similarly, my grandmother, Dorothy Moyer, known for her blunt Jewish humor, would often tell my dad, "Well, David, once you're dead, you're dead." But to Mr. Hughes and Grandma Dorothy, I say lovingly, I don't agree. learned to let go of control and trust in something bigger. Born and raised in conservative Jewish home on Fairmont Boulevard in Knoxville, Tennessee, my dad often shared stories from his childhood, whether he was tucking me in, driving me to dance classes, or helping me prepare for college. We bonded over these stories, and I took each one of them to heart from the time I was a little girl. One of my favorite stories was about the first time my dad took the bus alone to get a vaccine at age 10. Back then, the highlight of any doctor's visit was a vanilla milkshake from the soda fountain. But this time was different. It was his first time going alone. When the nurse called his name, he calmly told her he was still sipping his milkshake and she could go ahead and take the next kid. He said the same thing again and again, and then he made a run for it. But true to form, he paid for the milkshake first. That's my daddy. Charming, polite, and honest. If you really knew my dad, you'd know he was one of the kindest, most ethical, and fiercely loyal people you could meet. He might not have been in shul every week, but he lived his Jewish values daily through his relationships, his work, and his community. I don't know how many of you know his story, but I'm his proud daughter, so I'll tell you a little bit more about my dad. When my daddy was just beginning college, his mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and on the day of her surgery, my grandfather Saul died suddenly of a heart attack. The same day, the same heartbreak. Still, my dad carried on. He transferred from Emory to the University of Tennessee, then went on to the optometry school in Memphis, and if you ask anyone who knew him, they tell you he was one of the best optometrists there ever was. Later, he joined the Air Force, traveling the world, and giving people He was supposed to be stationed in Thailand, but a shoulder injury playing volleyball redirected him to Lubbock, Texas, which is definitely not Thailand. But fate had other plans because that detour eventually led him to Dallas and my beautiful mother. Together, they built an incredible life, raising me, growing a successful business, and surrounding themselves with an extraordinary community. I always thought I knew my dad, but I didn't truly know him until everything changed, the day he got cancer. These past few years have been some of the hardest in my life, but strangely, they've also been some of the most beautiful, because I've had the opportunity to really get to know my dad, and not everyone knows each other. I don't think any of us realized how much fight he had in him, how determined he was to beat the disease that's taken so many lives. He also taught me to be humble. He taught me to look out for others, to give people the benefit of the doubt, and to never overshare. Just say enough. That's a lesson I'll never forget. Many of you know I had a near-death experience in my early 20s. That day changed my life and taught me something most people don't learn so young. We are not in control. We never really were. It's taken me years to accept that truth, and ironically, it became the lesson I had to teach my dad. We can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond, how we see the world, and how we see others. This was the first battle my dad couldn't win, and that was absolutely heartbreaking. But it was also a privilege to walk the path with him and with my loving mom by his
Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai asked his students, Ezu haderech tova she'yibach ha'adam. What is a good way for a man to live his life? One of his students answered, to have an ayin Torah, a good eye. Another said, to be a haver tov, a good friend. And a third, Rabbi Elazar replied, to have a lev tov, a good heart. Rabbi Yochanan then said, I prefer Rabbi Elazar's answer. For those who have a lev tov, a good heart, also possess the other qualities. David indeed had an ayin tova, a good eye. Of course, he was a very accomplished optometrist. And with Jimena, at one point, they were running 4 stores at once. But he was also able to look at life and at people and see the good. David was also a chaver tov, a good neighbor and a good friend. He was fun to be with, loved and adored his friends, many of which he had friendships with for decades, whether they were playing poker together or watching the Vols in their orange and white beat their rivals. He also had a good, dry sense of humor. And when he heard someone needing help, he would help in any way that he could. But above all, and basic to all else, he had a lev tov, a good heart. He was a warm, sincere, a generous human being who put everyone else's welfare, his patients, his fellow Air Force members, his friends, and his loving family above his own. David grew up here in Knoxville with his parents Dorothy, a Kentucky girl, and Saul, his sister Anita, and little brother Frank. Their family was a member of Temple Beth El, and if you visit our synagogue, you will see his picture on the confirmation wall. He would say that he grew up here in Knoxville at an ideal time. You knew your neighbors, they knew you. You could take the bus to a doctor's appointment as a child. At 10. And was all the good and the bad. His goal was to create a great family life with the love of his life, Jimena. And together they had Sasha, and with the dogs, their family was a cohesive unit. Whether playing cards or Scrabble, watching movies together, in which David wouldn't last long before falling asleep, or listening to his favorite singer Elvis who belted his greatest hits, playing Bing in the backyard, they always enjoyed each other's company. They loved to travel together to Hawaii and their yearly trips to Ecuador to stay in their condo. And visit Jimena's family. They celebrated Shabbat together, lighting the candles and enjoying great meals. David even chose tour study with Jimena over dancing lessons. Jimena told me their each evening ritual. Jimena would go to bed first, and David, before retiring to his side of the bed, no matter how hard a day that he had, he would walk around to her side and give her a kiss goodnight. David was an art lover, and one day Jimena surprised him with a painting. He was so impressed with that painting that the next day she was surprised with every paint, canvas, and paintbrush a professional artist would ever need so she could continue to paint for him. Jimena gave me a poem by Rabbi Yogi Rabkin's son Hillel, who knew David well, and he wrote this poem in his honor. There once was a man as happy as ever, cracking a smile, no matter the endeavor. Doing good for the world was always his mission, so he spent most of his life restoring vision. But there was one thing he could not see, how perfect of a person I thought was he. You don't really know how many lives you've changed, from young and old, through every range. Your loving kindness knew no bound. Through all my days, it's what I found. No matter the person, whoever you met, only good things to say, and no regret. All these words I say are true. From my glass lens, you are the perfect Jew. And so it is in life and death, David. You have brought your family and friends here today to remember you. Zikrona Livracha, may your memory be an abiding blessing to all whose lives you have touched. We now take this time for a moment of silent reflection. psalmist has written, weeping may tarry into the night, but joy comes in the morning. El Male Rachamim, O God, full of compassion, please send your comfort to those who grieve. Help them to dispel the sadness that accompanies the pain of loss, and to find joy in the precious memories of David. May your love inspire them to focus on the love they had for him and that he had for them. Help them to face the future with courage, to treasure David's wonderful legacy. Sustain us in our faith, O God, even in this troubling time, as you have sustained our people in times of trouble and sorrow throughout the generations. Blessed are you, Adonai, who provides comfort to the brokenhearted. I invite you now to rise for El Male Rachamim, followed by the Mourner's Kaddish, which will be found in the handout.
El Male Rachamim Shachim Bamramim Hametzei Menucha Nechona Tachet Kanfei Hashchina Im Kedoshim Utaharim Kesohar Akiyah Mazirim Et Nishmat Yakireno Shehalach Leolama Barachamim Yastereha Beseta Kerapav Leolamim Deyetro Bitra HaChaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar